What led you to launch YouthAlert in 2011?
Well, we're a bunch of parents, and our kids sort of grew up. So we started this nonprofit basically as a bunch of peace activists, and our total goal, of course, is world peace, but we're trying to get world peace through youth peace first. So I would just say we're a bunch of what we call CPAs, crazy peace activists. And the best way we decided to go about getting peace is through youth. And that's where all our programs are targeted towards youth.
And so you were saying that this was focused in Lexington and Louisville, primarily here in the state. What led you to those school districts particularly?
Mm-hmm. Well, we actually started in Lexington because that's where we're headquartered. We're a Kentucky corporation. But just the nature of the beast in Louisville, I think Lexington had 22 murders, 2016. Louisville had 118. So it was more urgent a need for us to work in Louisville. School system's about twice as big. So for the 3 years that we've been doing our in-school violence, bullying, and abuse program, the epicenter has been in Jefferson County, Louisville.
So what have you seen? I mean, what sort of programs are you all doing to reach these kids in this middle school, high school range?
We tried a lot of things, but we basically believe that if kids know better, they do better. Why? We think people do violence for selfish reasons, personal satisfaction, immediate gratification. That's why we say money is not the root of all evil. Selfishness is the root of all evil. But we believe it, so we have this 10-hour program that we do in part of their health curriculum, really the nation's health curriculum, and we give them all the information for them to make their own true choices. So it's really 10 hours of violence prevention, abuse prevention, but it's really just laying out all the options, all the information for them simply just to make their own true choices.
So what sort of options are you giving these students to pursue instead of violence?
Yeah. Well, we call it a survival guide. Survival 101, as we like to say. Youth are 3 times as more likely to experience violence than us adults. 19 to 24 is far above any other age for being a victim of violence or doing violence. So, that's another reason why we concentrate on youth 12 to 24, because they are much higher at risk. So what we basically give them is peaceful options. We say that being peaceful is in your own self-interest without being selfish. And that's a wonderful thing. So we give them the information. First of all, we have to let them know what violence is, what bullying is, what abuse is. We have to give them, the definitions. A lot of people don't know. And then we give them the alternatives. And we break down, and some kids will say, Mr. Wayne, you took away everything. What are we gonna do? I said, we try to teach them kindness and think of other people first. Kindness will make them happy. And so we sort of establish equality, and we teach them kindness because we think kindness is the way to give kids respect.
Well, was this something that you adopted from another nonprofit or another curriculum like this, or is this something that you all totally developed on your own?
We developed it on our own. Actually, I wrote a self-published book in 2010 prior to the organization. It was called The War Against Violence Everywhere, still on Amazon. And but people would say, oh, that's nice, you wrote a book. You're going to do something about it? So basically the curriculum, violence, came out of us trying to move the dial. And our main goal is always to reduce youth violence, 10 to 24, 10%. That is what it's all about. That's the bottom line.
And does this change? What other school districts are you in besides Jefferson County and Fayette County? And what sort of approach do you take in these different counties? Are they different at all, or are they basically the same sort of curriculum that you're adopting?
All the kids we found they're all kids are different, but all kids are the same. So we don't have to alter our program. We're actually working on a program to alter it towards more international. We're working with a UN body called UNESCO to make it, we have some cultural differences, trying to explain certain words. But as far as the basic principles, we teach them what we believe in, which is we call the high 5. It's peace, love, life, freedom, and equality. Most important things in life are not things. And those translate anywhere we go. We work in Philadelphia now, we work in Newark, New Jersey, we work in New York City, we work in Cincinnati, we work in Nashville, hope to be in Memphis and in Chicago this year. But it's the same, same core for all youth.
So what sort of differences have you seen as you go to these other states, cities, and how the differences between the sort of youth violence that they see versus what you see here in Kentucky?
Yeah. Well, actually, I think Louisville is not that great as far as youth violence go. We couldn't be starting in a better place. I can actually only think of a couple cities that might be worse. But I think the main obstacle when we went to these schools is that when we went in there to try to teach them violence, bullying, abuse prevention, a lot of them were already in crisis from violence, bullying, abuse. I mean, we caught in our assessments suicide notes, and so we had to up our intervention connections. We had to treat the kids that were already there before we could even try to teach something new, and I think that was our biggest shock. If you look at the new KIP survey, Kentucky incentives prevention, they talk about more emotional distress for kids. If you look at the CDC's youth risk behavior survey, more sadness and hope. It might be because of more cyberbullying, but that we are focused first and foremost on kids' feelings, because if they're already out of sorts, I always tell people at work, I said, man, you should take an hour off and just go down to the school and visit with kids, because there's so many that are already out of sorts that I'm not quite sure we're advancing as a race if we don't, meet them more halfway.
And what sort of differences do you see between kids who either have been bullied or maybe bullied and kids who do the bullying as you go through these programs?
Well, I mean, bullying is rampant. It's rampant. And a lot of the things we already know against those that are challenged in some way or LGBTQ+. But I mean, our big shock on the bullying is what I guess in the media calls fat shaming. But I mean, to us, it's fat attacking. Every class, and we've done 10,000 kids, seems to have some terrible story about being bullied because they were fat. It just seems like it was right in front of our face and we've never seen it. So that is 5 or 6 horse lengths ahead of even the LGBTQ or anything else. It seems like that is the number one. So, we were disturbed hearing that, and we're also disturbed that most kids don't get help for some reason, any reason, that they do suffer in silence. And trying to overcome this first emotional obstacle we ran into is really still what we're trying to work on before we can even teach them anything new. It's that they're a situation that they're already in, and no one's to blame, but we definitely need more interventions and more connections to these kids.
Now, does that come at the school district level? Is that something that you would like to see more schools implement as an anti-bullying or, even sort of a student, making them more comfortable in school sort of situation?
That's a real good question. But I can easily say all the above. But my experience is that they're already pretty much doing a good job. There's no bad school, certainly not in Kentucky. All the kids are great. Never met a bad kid. And the principals are doing what they can. The boards are doing what they can. I really feel like it just needs more teamwork. That's all. I mean, we're working towards it, but we're not there yet. And more teamwork with adults and youth. And what can't a team, fix? So I would say everybody's on the right track. We just need more of it.
That kind of sounds like it's more of a training situation rather than, pumping more money into the school district and funding some type of program.
It's not about money. Again, it's about the things that we did create: peace, love, life, freedom, and equality. And those, you got to be there. You can't mail it in. They're not going to remember anything about the program, but they'll remember as an adult who gave them respect and attention. That's the lesson. So we're all about more adults interacting with youth, and we think simply because youth peace is the road path to world peace.
And you've seen some pretty, at least according to your survey results from students who have participated in this program, a new awareness of bullying, a new awareness of anti-violence measures. Have you seen any sort of anecdotal evidence that you can point to say, hey, this is a program that's working right now?
Yeah, because we sort of cut out the middleman, it's like our program and the kids, we get a lot of direct input, not through social media and through the parents, and they never heard a lot of these things before we told them. There's just not a setting that they heard a lot of these. Schools more, it has other issues in STEM, but these sort of survival issues are just not readily available. So yeah, we always call it creating a few brain synapses. We're trying to let them know there's other options out there, and these options are probably in their better interest. And again, when they have all the information, they always make the right. So whether they were already in detention, or they're coming out, or they're at school, or they have ankle bracelets with, we found if they know everything, then they know where to go.
As you look at this program, what sort of things have you done to adapt it since starting it in 2011, and what sort of things do you think you could do in the future, kind of looking back at how you've done in this program?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's still a work in progress. We're always trying to make it better, but the kids really write half the program. So I would say during the 3 years how we developed it is kids would ask us a question in a class, stump us. It happens every class. Kids are so smart. And so, we figure it out and we put it in a presentation. So what kids don't know is they're actually listening to what other teenagers had to say too. But, you can never say this is right, because kids are changing and times are changing, and what worked today might not work tomorrow. So just keeping this really high level communication directly between youth and older folks like me, and be able to document it and examine it out in the open, because we believe all voices are equal. When you talk about survival, we all got just one life on the line. So all voices are equal. We leave nobody out. And just keeping this information going and being able to document it and present it back.
Have you found that you need to focus more on social media, given the prevalence of that in today's society?
Right. Well, at my age, we didn't even have the social media. But it is, without a doubt, the worst type of bullying going on today. I mean, some are hypnotized. So, we have to do 15 minutes on how to block. And it's not uniform on Instagram, on Snapchat, on your phone, on Facebook, how to block. We once put up a video there. It goes, you hit spam, and one kid raised their hand, what's spam? So times are changing. So we have to constantly teach them how to block, and I see them practicing while we do it. It's a real, we don't want them to lose the internet or lose their phone. That's, we always tell them, get help and don't change. But they need the skills to learn how to block, and sometimes it's kind of complicated. Certainly on the phone, anyway.
And you said that was a very prevalent issue.
It's pretty bad.
With, how bad is the cyberbullying issue in schools today?
Well, it's like I said, the ridicule is pretty bad, but I'd say number 2 is the shunning. People being left out, treated to wear our hair every day is invisible. They treat you like you're invisible. That is extraordinarily painful to kids. But the cyberbullying, without a doubt, now is. It's unfiltered, comes right to them, and cuts them very deep.
And what other cities are you looking at maybe expanding YouthAlert to? You mentioned New York, Chicago, New York, New Jersey. What other cities might be on your horizon?
That's a good question. First of all, we think international. We're actually, YouthAlert now, we have special consultative status to the United Nations. So there's actually 1.8 billion youth, 10 to 24 in the world. Actually, half the world is under 30. So we're actually trying to make it more international, reach, we believe all youth are equal everywhere. So we want to work with all countries. Actually in about 5 or 6 countries in Africa have the highest, youth mortality rates. So I think we'll be spending some time in Africa, I hope. But, we want to work with all 1.8 billion youth. We think, it's hard to create a violent theater without youth. So if youth are peaceful, I would think the whole world could, fall into place.